Hello everybody, welcome to a new video of JMSpeedshop. S124 V8 Turbo project. If you're new to the channel, have a look in the right corner view. You can see my logo. You can see all the other videos about this project. Also have a look on my website, JMSpeedshop.com. It's over here. So today I'm going to start on filling up the hydraulic system. So filling up the tank and filling up the shock absorbers as much as possible in the front and the rear. The front is pretty easy, I can do it from the top. In the back I have to have a look how I'm going to do that, because I can pump just oil in it, but you always have some air in it. I just want to start out with as much oil in the system than air as possible. And also I need to remove, I don't need to do it, but it's easier. I'm going to remove the radiator, intake pipe, because then I can almost reach straight out to the front nut of the steering pump and I can just drive it with the drill bit. And then I can just take the multi-belt off and just spin the pump by itself. I can bleed out the steering system and I can bleed out a complete suspension system. That will save me a lot of headaches when I'm going to start the car for the first time. And also what's very good is then I can fill up the system, put the car on its wheels and have a look and test if everything is oil tight and closed. So then I can check this valve. And now in the front one is good because it's already on its wheel for a month on this front suspension setting and it was already good. So but I can check then if the shock absorbers are not leaking, the valve is not leaking, and also can check the valve in the back. And I'm also checking this complete system, also the system that's underneath the car. So that's what I'm going to do, fill up the system. When I have the shock absorber filled up also in the back, then I still have the hose off, then I put some cups underneath the hose, then I can spin the pump and I can push all the air out of it. And then I can have a look, I'm going to do that, but I can put 12 volts on the solenoids. Then I bleed the other side of the system. It's just needed a few seconds, but then you're sure, because otherwise it chooses one side and then you put 12 volts on it and then it takes the other side. That's the same in the back. I'm also going to do that. All the valves are fully open, so they are fully open. So I think that's the best to do, because otherwise you have to bleed air out or you got a lot of air back in the tank. Also have to have a look if I got enough oil. So that's the case. So the oil that I'm using is application number, can you see it? Hope you can see it. 344. That is the spec for this system with steering and leveling in one tank. So I filled up the suspension. I hope you can see it a little bit. If I move it, you can see the level coming up and down. So the shock is completely filled up. I did the same on this side. I put a paper around it because if something leaks then it will be in the paper. This same thing. Also completely filled up. So that's okay. So now I'm going to do the rear. And if I have that done, then I will get the actuators off, put it in central position so it will only pump through the level valve and not to here. Then I can bleed the steering pump and the feed and the return to the level valve, and after that I will put the front to level up. Then I will fill up the system with the hoses, put the can underneath. If it's completely filled up, put the hoses on, the same in the back, and then everything is bleed out. So let's start with bleeding the shock. The system in the back is a little bit bleeding the system in the back is a little bit hard. Remove the line from the pipe over there, just the hose. Put the hose in a can, put new oil in it, put the suspension up to the highest point, put the hose in it and let it suck in. That's I did it now 3 times, no air is coming out of it, so the shock should be full of oil. There's not going a lot of it in it. I expect it to be around 50 to 70 milliliters or 50 to 70 cc's of oil in it. So what I'm now going to do is put the hose upwards, just with the hood, with a wood block, so it will not drain out, and then I can put cups underneath the outlets, and then pump the system, and later on drain it from here, get all the stuff out of it, filter it, and then I got it bleed out as much as possible. Radiator removed, intake pipe is off, belt off, so I can turn the steering pump. Tank is just on the minimum on this level, but yeah, that's not the level that I'm going to use in this system. I have to figure out my own level. Got the 2 level valves locked, still got some oil coming through. Did not have enough cups, so I didn't put any cups in the back, and of course I got a small leak. But yeah, that's because the pipe is off and you can see a little bit oil dripping in here. I'm going to connect the hoses also on the other side, I did the same thing. But yeah, there is no air in this part of it, and I fill them up as much as possible, so I'm going to connect them. And then I will just put the car on its wheels. And then, because it's in its highest position, when I lower it, it will press all the air out back to the tank. That's, in theory, that's how it should work. So it cannot pump more air in it because all the air is out. So let's see if that's also working like I want. So I'm now going to connect those back hoses, also these, and I think I just have to cycle it a few times up and down, up and down. I'll put the camera on a stand and I can show you how that works. So tank is about half full. I bled already all the air out of this system with putting 12 volts on this solenoid into the can. I just emptied them. Now I have this system connected, and if I just put 12 volt in here, you can hear the solenoid switching. So I will put 12 volts on here, and then I'm going to pump the air out that's in there. So just a little bit. 40mm socket on the front. Nice. So what I'm going to do now is connect these hoses to the shock absorbers, put this in center level, and going to have a look. I'm going to do that in the back, put 2 cans underneath, and I can do the same thing, put 12 volts on a solenoid and drain all the air out. Disconnected right rear wheel. Now going to have a look. So hose needs to stay up a little bit. Going to bleed it over here. I've got the same on the other side. So I will pump, and there will be now oil coming out of the tube. And also on the other side. So now I'm going to put a 12 volt connector, or 12 volt on the solenoid, and bleed the other side of the system, so the comfort or the pressure side for the harder suspension setting. So wanted to switch over the solenoid, put 12 volts on it. I put 12 volts on it, but I hear it not click inside. So I screw this around one bit loose. If you put 12 volts in it and the magnet is stuck, then you know it's working. So I will show you that in a minute. So I hope you can see it a little bit. I can now move it with my hand. If I put 12 volts on it, I cannot move it. If I let it off, I can move it. So the solenoid is putting a magnetized power on the valve in there. So the valve is stuck. That's the conclusion. So what I'm now going to do is open it and have a look inside. Because it's a new one. So maybe it's just because it's new that it's a little bit stuck. So let's have a look. So I removed this piece. Normally the solenoid is on here, and this will then move up and down by the solenoid. There's just a small, I don't know if you can see it, but this should normally travel. So let's have a look why it is stuck. This needs to be on here. So got it out, and it's a little bit dirty. The strange is this is just a new one, so it looks like there's a little bit of rust in it. So normally you should be, it needs to be possible to move by hand. In this case it was not the case. So you can see, I think these ones lay a long time. So going to clean them up, put them back together, and then show you how it works. So normally this pin is in here then, this side in here, and then you should move it from one side to the other. So let's have a look, because you can see it's already a little bit hard to move. So I'm going to clean it up, put it back together, and show you how it works. So solenoid is back together. You can put 12 volts on it. Now you can really hear it. So this is how it should work. I'm going to build it back in the car, and then we can flush again the two sides of the system again to get all the air out. So let's go. So second try on the second channel of the hydraulic system. So I got everything open. I got the normal system bleeds out. Now I got 12 volts on the solenoid. Now we should see first some air and then oil again. So let's go. Going to fill up the system and pump it a little bit more, and then this is okay. Then I can put the hose back on, that's over here, connect everything. The thing what I'm going to do now, because I had a problem here in the rear and the solenoid is clicking, this noise is just more than I think, I can just easily take this solenoid off, take the pin out, have a look if I can move the cylinder by hand inwards, just to check. So this is the hydraulic valve from the left front wheel. So as you can see, I got the piston off. So this is the solenoid. There's a pin in here that will push this valve in here, and you can see this is how it should be. I can push it in with my finger because there's a spring on this side. So this is how it should be. So the other one underneath the car was stuck. So now I'm going to check the other side. Right front wheel connection for the solenoid, the electrical side, the valve in here, that's the valve. I can just move it, so that's good. Okay, so the last time the car was on its wheels is a pretty long time ago. So let's drop it and see what happens. It should stay just on the level it's now. So we will see, because I got a lock in the back and a lock in the front, so the oil cannot drain. So, car was on the ground. I did some testing. In the clippy before you saw I dropped the car down. In the rear it dropped on its wheel arches, because I have to explain a little bit how the system works, because it's now on oil pressure. There are 4 accumulators in it, and there are no springs, separate springs from
the accumulator, so there are no springs in it. They need to be in the car, but I cannot do it because the full weight is not yet in the body. So I have to cut these springs to the right, so I get the right spring rate. Yeah, the spring rate is always the same, of course, but the length needs to be shorter because the springs are like extra. They're helping the accumulator. So at this moment it's not in there. So what will happen if you don't have those springs in it? You have to pump a lot of oil in the system to get enough pressure to raise it. So the system is now then, you could say it's overfilled. There's more oil in the system to raise it than without the springs. So the springs will be in there later on. So what I've done now, it's now on its wheels. In the back it's like on, yeah, this is like a show stance position, I would call it. So this is like the lowest setting. In the back I lowered it and put the connection from the leveling valve to the stabilizer bar in it. So if I now going to pump, it will go up to its level, what I think is the level where I should start. In the front it's not connected, and I leave it in position that it will not pump oil in it. And you can see then that my hydraulic flow divider is working, because in the front it's going over the return pressureless, and in the back it will bring in pressure. It's going slowly, but these steering pumps and these leveling pumps are just don't have the capacity than the earlier pumps that were original in this car and earlier on. So, but yeah, it does not need to be a fast system, it just needs to work as a leveling system. So it takes maybe 30 seconds to get on level, but you will see, I will put the camera in the back and you can at first see that I'm pumping up the rear system. So let's go. So you can see now, this is like how it is original also. If you have an S124, you should have like a gap like this. This looks, for my eye, this looks pretty good. So now we go to the front. So in the front, it's still in the lowest position. So there is oil pressure in it, but this is like I mentioned, sort of show condition setting. But the actuator is in the normal position, because it's not connected, and the arm, what I mentioned, this arm is in the middle. That means that the oil will not go in the shock absorbers, but it will go back to the tank. So if I now connect this actuator in here, it will be in this position, and that means it should pump oil in until the level is okay, and it comes to this position and it will stop. So I will connect this arm, and then we're going to pump, and the level will go a little bit up. So this is like a position I think you should have when driving the car, I think. So yeah, I think it's pretty good. Now it's testing it, and I'm going to race the car once, have a look if I don't have any oil leaks. And that's, yeah, that we just leave it for a few weeks on its wheels when I'm working on it, and have a look if it keeps its level. So I'm going to measure everything and on a millimeter, so I'm sure that the car will not drop. And now the last time who saw my older videos know that I had no suspension in the front because the accumulators were leaking, and now you can see there is movement in it, and this is the suspension from the accumulators. So to not have too stiff suspension, the springs should also only be for helping the accumulators. So I think pretty nice video, good progress. Took me some time to figure everything out, and had some small leaks I had to fix. Yeah, lost some oil in some spots. It's always a messy thing, so need to clean everything. This is not the most aggressive hydraulic oil, so I don't think it does any paint damage. The newer oils will do that. So if you've got any questions about this system, leave some comments below. So this is the part of the self-leveling system. The part of adjustments in the car, so getting a different height right, will be taken on later, because I have to have a look how I get these actuators working properly and getting the right settings in there for the front and the back. And then also adjustment of the shock absorber hardness with the two valves and the two channels that I can use. So if you've got any questions, leave some comments below. Also have a look on JMSpeedshop.com, the link is over here. So if you're new, you can also find the other video of the first testing of the front in the right corner for you. You can click on my logo and you see all the other videos of this. So thanks for watching, and the next one will be all kind of small bits in the engine bay, and I will start on the electronics of the transmission and the engine wiring loom and connecting my standalone ECU, that sort of stuff. So I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do over there with the back, because I have a wider fender for that one. If I'm going to install it before or after the first dyno sessions, that sort of stuff. I have to have a look how much work it is, because I have to widen the rear arch in the wheel arch itself, because it's getting more outside, and I have to align the wheel a little bit so it's left and front is the same. I think these wheels will fit pretty good in my wheel arch, so yeah, very happy with this. So let me know what you think. See you for the next video. Bye bye.